So talk to us about some of the study strategies you had, and also maybe just give us an insight, because I always like talking to people like yourself who are just really committed to the process of getting the best mark possible. I think there's no point shying away from that. I think that's a great thing. It's great that some people are like that. And I would love to know, like, what was your routine when you came home from school? And you said, you were always in your room, and your parents were supportive of, how much you were studying. So what was this typical study routine day to day? And what was the general approach there with study?
Probably until a little bit after the floods, I really only just did the study required to get assignments done. And like to keep up, because I did two major work subjects, society and culture and extension 2 English. So yeah, I just did the work that was required to keep up to date with what my teachers were asking for my majors, and to get assignments done well and on time. And it probably wasn't until April that I kind of was like, okay, I've just missed a month of school. I'm really stressed out. I'm not doing anything, and I'm just getting more and more stressed out. Like I need to do something about this. I think part of why I didn't really do much more than, just what was needed to get assignments done was because I didn't really know how to study for humanities subjects. So I did all humanities. So I did 4 units of English, and then society and culture, ancient history, and legal studies. And those subjects, humanities are all about the human experience and interpreting things. And it's not like maths or science where a lot of the time there is a hard and fast formula. And because of that, I really found it hard to just study. Everyone's saying, oh, just study more. And I always just go, study what? Like, what do I study for these subjects? Yeah, so it was about probably the Easter holidays that I realized, okay, let's actually learn how to study for these subjects then. I can't just keep saying, oh, I don't know how, to excuse my lack of action. Throughout the year, I had kept pretty good notes from in class, but I kind of started for about 2 hours a night, 2 to 4 hours a night, most school days. In around April, was I'd come home and I would type up any notes that I'd written, handwritten, because handwriting practice is so important throughout year 12. You need to have the physical strength to be able to write for 3 hours, in an exam. But at the same time, having books and books full of paper is really messy. I find it's too messy sometimes. My handwriting doesn't make that any easier. My handwriting's pretty bad. So I'd come home and I'd just reread my notes, and I'd type them up into a master doc that I had for each subject. Except for advanced English, I had one for each module.
Like each essay draft in it or something like that.
Yeah. And I'd kind of type up the notes I'd done, and I'd organize them according to the syllabus dot points. I really found using the syllabus that everyone has access to, it's just on the NESA website, I found that really helped me kind of plan how I was going to study. I'd kind of copy and paste the syllabus into a document, and then I'd type out all the notes that I had and organize them into all the little subheadings. And then I could see where I needed to get more information, areas we hadn't covered as well in class, or maybe just parts we'd entirely kind of skipped. And so then I, do my own research, whether it was finding textbooks or watching YouTube videos. I did actually watch quite a few Adel videos for Extension 1 English in particular. I found videos like that for Metropolis and Frankenstein really helpful in organizing my thoughts on those texts. And so once I had a huge comprehensive base of notes, which I do wish I'd started earlier. I wish I'd done it throughout the year as I went along, because I had to catch up on a lot of notes first before I could even just be typing up what I'd done that day. And once I had that kind of database, it was then really just making sure I knew the content. But at the same time, like, it's impossible to memorize a whole, huge document. Like, some of them were like over 100 pages of notes. Like, you can't memorize that and use all of that in an exam. That's just too much, and you don't need it all. So I then started making little cheat sheets for each subject, which I'd give myself a page for all of my exams except for advanced. I'd then give myself a page for each module, and I'd come up with an essay plan or a plan of attack. And on those cheat sheets, I would write any quotes I need to remember. For legal, I'd write cases and legislation and all stuff that was really important that I remember. I'd make sure that I learnt, that bit of statute, or I knew the quote really well. And then on the document would just be the quote or whatever it was I needed to remember on its own. Then I started practicing with, I think it's kind of called like the 3-3-3 method, which works really well, especially in the days leading up to an exam, once you have all your notes done and you have a little cheat sheet. And so what that was for the 3 days before one exam, over those 3 days, I would do 3 different practice papers. And on the first day, I choose one practice paper that I was going to do for that day. And the first time I'd sit down and do it, I let myself do it open book. I timed it, only gave myself the time allowed on the paper, but I let myself have my cheat sheet and have my whole textbook right there and let myself read off it and respond. And then I'd finish and I'd take a little break, and then I'd do the exact same paper again. But this time, my book wouldn't be right next to me. It would be closed on the chair next to me. And I was only allowed to look at my notes if I really was stuck, like coming up a complete, what do I say? And then I'd take a break, and then I'd do the exact same paper for a third time, to time and everything. But this time I was not allowed to look at my notes, my cheat sheet, nothing. Like, this was as if I was in actual exam conditions, wouldn't let myself get up and go to the toilet if I needed it. And I act like I was in the exam hall. Then the 2 days before the exam, I do the exact same process, but with a different practice paper. And the day before I do the same process with another practice paper.